I've seen the indictments of former FBI Director James Comey, the indictment just a few days ago of the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. You call this in your book Trump's vengeance agenda.
Before it even happened.
Before it happened.
Yes.
You've predicted this. You seem to like saying I told you so, but this is one of those things that you...
All right, everyone. This is an interview with Kamala Harris, which I'm not sure why they bring her on as to give her commentary, but we're going to take a look at this. Don't really like her that much, but this should just should be entertaining if nothing else. So let's check it out and see where she goes.
Before it happened.
Yes.
You've predicted this. You seem to like saying I told you so, but this is one of those things that you predicted.
Yeah.
You were an Attorney General of the second largest DOJ in the country, second only to the United States DOJ. What does what we're seeing mean for the rule of law in this country?
This is a full-on frontal attack on the rule of law in our country. And
wait, full-on frontal attack of law because they indicted Letitia James and they indicted James Comey. The only questions about those two indictments is, did James Comey lie to Congress, or did he lie about leaking information to the public about cases that were going on? And then in Letitia James' case, did she commit mortgage fraud? Those are the two questions, and the court will decide them. But let's let her explain why she believes that this is a full frontal assault on the rule of law.
you know, one of the things that we talked about during those 107 days and even before was that the Supreme Court, during the course of the election cycle, made the decision, as you'll recall, that the president would be immune from any of his conduct while in office. So we went into the election with this individual, Donald Trump, knowing that he would essentially be immune from any consequence for misbehavior while in office. So the Supreme Court basically gave him that. You look at what's happening in terms of the militarization.
Wait, she still hasn't explained why this is a full frontal assault on the rule of law. She just said that the Supreme Court gave him immunity for bad behavior. So let's let her keep going.
Of the streets of America, deploying people, men and women who have been trained to fight our adversaries or to do other important work that is about uplifting the well-being of the American people, being sent to the streets of America like here in Chicago. You look at what's happening in terms of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, to your point, going after...
Wait, she's trying to say that him sending the National Guard to Chicago. People cannot, I keep saying this, and I think I've said this in every video, you cannot hinder federal agents from doing their following the federal law. You cannot hinder that. So if you're attacking ICE agents and you're throwing things at them and you're spitting on them and whatever else, you're blocking their vehicles, well, you might need to have a little bit more force. So what do? You call up the National Guard. Granted, he could also enlist at the U.S. Marshals. He hasn't done that yet, so maybe he'll do that. But let's let her keep going.
Comey going after the Attorney General of the state of New York, who a previous prosecutor, who I'm told was a conservative Republican, reviewed the evidence and decided...
What does it matter if they're a conservative Republican if they didn't want to go file the case? That doesn't mean anything. Trump has every legal right to fire her and hire a new one. That's what he did. Let's go.
That there was not enough facts to charge her with a crime, and she has been indicted. And what we see is that the rule of law is very much under attack by this president, who thinks that the Department of Justice is his personal lawyer and is basically subverting the will of the people around constitutional safeguards. I think that we also have to recognize that the district court judges, some of whom were even appointed by Trump and Democrats, but Republicans and democratically appointed judges in the district courts are standing up. And I think that is something that we should recognize and praise, that they are saying that where there's an abuse of power, they're going to stand firm. But we also see everyday people and their constitutional rights being trampled, whether it be Fourth, Fifth, or Sixth Amendment rights. So this is a real issue and a serious issue. And the people...
Wait, what everyday people's rights are being infringed? Does she say what people that she's talking about? I don't think so, but let's let her keep going.
I think are speaking through their vote and their voice to say they're not going to stand for it.
You mentioned the Attorney General, and Trump messaged her. He thought he messaged her, but he sent it out to everyone. I'm assuming you saw that, calling for...
Yeah, I hear that he must have DM'd her and didn't realize everybody would see it.
Yeah, everyone was a little surprised by it, including himself, apparently. But he called for the Comey and the James indictments. Your fellow Californian, Adam Schiff, is on that list. So right now he's of 2 of 3. Do you believe that these are about getting convictions, or is it actually about sending a message to anyone who might speak out against him to make clear to folks?
Okay, that was a loaded question. Did you see how he's framing the question? So she's obviously going to answer it the way he wanted her to answer it. But let's just listen to see exactly how she answers it, because he says this is watch how she answers this.
Folks that they shouldn't do it because there might be consequences.
I think he has a vengeance campaign, which is, I think, really exposing the petty nature of who he is and his deep level of insecurity, that he feels that he has to use the power of the federal government and the United States Department of Justice to go...
Wait a minute. Okay. I cannot let this slide. She said he's using the power of the government for vengeance, and her next probably is going to be authoritarian. I can't even say the word right now. But if you think about it, during COVID, okay, when people did not want to take the vaccination, what administration were making choices of firing people because they wouldn't take the vaccination? Couldn't go to work, telling you you're going to kill people. How authoritarian was that? It's like revisionist history sometimes, or I forgot what I did. This is what they did. Let's go.
Go after people who have disagreed with him, or as prosecutors who have used a combination of the facts and law to prosecute him. From everything I know, Attorney General James based a conviction, or she didn't convict them, but based her charges, which was then resulted in a conviction, based on facts and the law. But he can't...
Wait, it was a conviction where she wanted him to pay almost $500 million. And it was a conviction on a crime. It wasn't a crime. No one lost money. Matter of fact, the banks made money. She tried to make it look like the banks were victims. Big, large banks were the victims of Donald Trump's. Now, a lot of you, I don't know how many of you have dealt with real estate, but in real estate, you always make your property look worth more than it is. And then it's the diligence of the bank or the buyer to go in and look to see if the property is really worth that before you make your purchase or before you give your loan. This is common damn sense. I don't know where people were thinking that this trial that Letitia did on Donald Trump was even remotely correct. Ask any commercial investor, any commercial builder, what they do when they're dealing with the banks. It's to think a bank would be naive enough to believe that Trump, to say that his property was worth a certain amount without them checking before they gave the loan. Silly. Let's go.
Can't take that. He can't take the fact that he's been held accountable, and so he is on a vengeance campaign.
what the DOJ does, and you know this better than I do, is so fundamental to the backbone of the country, right?
Yeah.
The rule of law versus the rule of men. Can Americans trust the criminal justice system right now and what's coming out of the DOJ?
Can they trust the American justice system right now? No, Democrats don't trust the justice system right now because they're not in charge of it. When they're in charge of it, they trust it. When they're not in charge of it, they don't trust it. When the Supreme Court makes a ruling they don't like, it's the worst thing ever. When the Supreme Court makes a ruling they do like, oh, they love them all. It's such hypocrisy. But let's go.
I don't know if we can trust what's coming out of the Department of Justice right now. And that pains me to say that as someone who spent the majority of my career as a prosecutor, where the work of a prosecutor should be to...
By the way, she did nothing as a prosecutor in California. Nothing. But let's keep going.
Do justice. Many who have worked as U.S. attorneys, worked for the U.S. Department of Justice, talk openly and rightly about the fact that they should do their work without any fear and not in the interest of favor. And that so clearly is not what is ruling the day there. And when you have an administration and individuals who are manipulating the justice system of America in that way, they best understand that this is not only about something that affects the individuals that they're targeting. This affects all of us who believe that, flawed though it may be, that a justice system is actually supposed to be blind in the way that it does its work, not targeting people because of who they are, or for that matter, what they look like.
During your D.C. events this week, you said that you encouraged civil service folks to stay in their jobs.
Yes.
To help, as I think as you put it, to kind of clean up after Trump, whatever that is and whenever that means. But for the folks in the DOJ, where this vengeance campaign is happening, you see Eric Siebert, who was in Virginia, leaving because of other pressure, lots of other folks, because they can't take it. How can they possibly stick it out? How do they actually do that? What's your advice to them?
Well, like I said that day, I can't pretend to tell them what to do based on what is important to them. But I will speak on behalf of what I believe is important to the country. And if they can stay and stick with it, I would implore them to do it for the sake of the country. It is important that we have people in these powerful positions who understand the rules of ethic, the rule of law, the fact that they should be there working on behalf of the people, not some personal political goal. So I do encourage, and it's not only people in the Department of Justice, people at the FDA, people in the Department of Health and Human Services.
AKA, if you are an operative of the Democratic Party, you must stay in your position. Do not get yourself fired. Did you hear the code? The code is, do not let them know where you side on the spectrum. Stay humble, stay quiet, stay in your position. We need you there. That's funny. Let's go, Miss Word Salad.
People are being pushed out or made to feel as though they can't actually do the job that they ethically know that they should do, and are being pressured in that way to the point that if they can't do the job that they care about, they're thinking about leaving. But then who does that leave? Who's left?
You also said in your book tour over and over that Democrats need to fight fire with fire.
Yes.
Should the next Democratic president change the way they deal with the DOJ? Should they be a little bit more involved than Democrats have been in the past? Does that include?
No president should think of the Department of Justice as being their personal attorney. No president should try.
What did Obama say? Holder was his wingman, or did Holder say Obama was his wingman? What? Which one was? I think it was Obama saying that Holder was his wingman. Listen to this. This is funny. Let's go.
To influence prosecutorial decisions based on a political agenda, period.
You also write in the book about that warning in that last speech on the Ellipse. I was there, where you said he would use the military to go after American citizens.
Yeah.
We're here in Chicago, one of the cities he's trying to. The courts have stopped him to send the National Guard in. Just today, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said Trump has declared war on Chicago and other cities. Do you agree? Has the President of the United States declared war on cities run by Democrats in this country?
Well, let's just...
She turned her head and looked up. This is a sign of she's coming up with a lie. She's about to drop a lie on us right now. Let's see what it is.
look at the facts and then draw your own conclusion. He is deploying a U.S. military to the streets of America, a military that has been set up, stood up, and trained, for the most part, to do the work of fighting against adversaries, fighting against enemies, and deploying them on the streets of America as though, and he said it, to attack the enemy within.
He's deploying the National Guard on the street because the people are out there hindering ICE from doing its job. He's deploying the National Guard to protect the federal buildings that the mayor and the governor of that state will not protect. Common sense. Let's go.
Here in Chicago, I'm told that the helicopters that were descending on an American city were Black Hawks.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know?
So, I'm told that they were Black Hawks. She's about to say, do you know what Black Hawks are used for? Yeah, for dropping people down onto a building to go after Trinity Agua members that are in a building that actually none of them were supposed to be in. Let's go.
What Black Hawks were designed to do?
Yeah.
War. So I think everyone can draw their conclusions just based on the facts and see that he has definitely decided he's going to use the power of the federal government to attack American cities and the people who live there.
What did you make of him saying and telling these generals and admirals, military leaders, a couple of weeks ago to use the cities as training grounds?
I think it's outrageous. I think it's outrageous, and any military leader that you speak with who has been there and taken an oath and served in combat will tell you that the idea that these men and women who sacrifice so much to enlist and to serve in our military forces would turn on American citizens.
They're not turning on American citizens. They're not turning on American citizens. Again, I repeat, they're not turning on American citizens. What they are doing is protecting ICE from demonstrators who are destroying federal property. Federal property is to be protected. Federal agents that are doing the job that they are sent out there to do, the laws that they are sent out to enforce, should be protected in doing these jobs if the local governor, the local mayor are not helping them do their mission. As a matter of fact, they are hindering them from doing their mission. Therefore, you need to call in someone who can help them. Let's go.
For sport or training is completely against every reason that they signed up to serve our nation and to protect our nation.
When this airs, President Trump will be on his way to the Middle East. They have this deal between Israel and Palestine. Both former Secretaries of State Hillary Clinton and Antony Blinken have commended President Trump for the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Do you agree with them? Should he be commended?
Look, I don't think that we should hold
Again, she turned her head looking for a lie to spew. Let's see what she spews here.
Credit where it's due. I mean, first of all, let me say about that deal, I really do hope it becomes real and that the hostages are out, that Gaza is no longer being treated with such brutality of force, that aid goes in. And I commend the people who have been a part of this process. I'd commend the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the president.
A lot of folks in your party have called what's happening in Gaza a genocide. Do you agree with that?
I think that, listen, it's a...
First of all, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it again. Is it a genocide in Palestine? If it's a genocide, it's the most ineffective genocide that I've ever seen. Israel could have genocided Palestine. They did not. They could have turned Palestine, that desert, into glass. They didn't. So they took pains to try to figure out where to target and when to target. Now, they did. There was a lot of civilian casualties, but when a war is declared, this is what happens. War is not pretty. Never, ever, 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 never, ever, 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 ever has it ever been pretty. You should go back and look at all the wars of the world, and you would see that it's never a pretty situation. And I think that a lot of people, I know young people in particular, like to think of things as rosy, that crime, that murder doesn't happen or unaliving happens, but in a war, it definitely happens. And it happens a lot. Matter of fact, my dad served in the U.S. Army for 27 years, fought in the Vietnam War, and to this day, or up until he passed, he would not talk about what went on when he was there. But he would tell me, war is not a joke. It's not a joke. Any type of conflict that you're sending soldiers into to combat and fight is not a joke. It doesn't matter how big or how small the forces you're facing. You never know your security level. You have to go in and do your job. Let's go.
It is a term of law that a court will decide, but I will tell you that when you look at the number of children that have been killed, the number of innocent civilians that have been killed, the refusal to give aid and support, we should all step back and ask this question and be honest about it.
Yeah, we should be honest about war. We should be honest about what war is. We should not look at war through rose-colored glasses, but it's not like that at all. War is war. Let's go.
In the afterword of your book, you say, I'm going to get this right, in this critical moment, working within the system by itself is not proving to be enough. I will be with the people in towns and communities where I can listen to their ideas on how we rebuild trust, empathy, and a government worthy of the ideals of this country. As someone who's covered you for a long time, your kind of estimation that the system is not working so much so that you're ready and willing to step out of it was kind of surprising to me and a lot of folks who know you. What does that actually look like after the book tour? You're being outside, listening to the ideas of folks. How do you get around and talk to these people?
Well, it's been, actually, I've been doing it along with the book tour and not with the press present, but convening folks to talk with them and mostly, really mostly to listen. I think the American people have a lot to say right now about how they are feeling and what they want from their leadership. And I hope that I can use this time to be able to do that listening and to lift up those voices. You know, one of the issues that I have talked about even on the stage is the level of fear and frustration that the American people are feeling. The level of distrust that is existing. Distrust in the system and their government, but also distrust in each other as fellow Americans. And I think there's some deep work that we have to do that includes lifting up those voices toward a solution. I don't think, as I write in the book, I don't think all the solutions are going to come out of D.C.
So how do you fix?
All the solutions have never come out of D.C. Matter of fact, the system that we have for government, they're not supposed to come out of D.C. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the education we have in this country, that a lot of people don't understand how our government is supposed to work. I mean, you ask most people, what are the three branches of government? They can't even tell you. That's how scary it is. But let's go.
that trust, right? Because you have said that we are working with different sets of facts, right? That there's in this world that we're living.
No, I would say different information.
Different
fact
information.
is fact.
That's true. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So different information. We're all working with different information in this country. And so how do you get that trust back with MAGA Republicans, for example?
I don't want to put anyone in a general broad group of people, because if you're talking about, for example, people who elected and voted for Donald Trump in the last election, I do believe that there's a fair number of people who did, because they trusted and believed that he would, as he said he would, on day one, bring down prices, which he did not. He lied. The cost of food is higher, unemployment is higher, inflation is higher. And so when I think about a population of people that just believe...
Inflation is higher. Not as high as 9.1%. What? All right, let's go.
...believed and wanted that. I think the work to be done is about talking about our plans for addressing that and doing so immediately. Part of what I've talked about is, I think if we had to do it over again, we should have really considered the family care piece of our Build Back Better agenda before we dealt with infrastructure and chips.
Infrastructure and chips. Okay. Okay, wait. Infrastructure. Anybody remember this these electric charging stations for cars that were supposed to go across the country? $8 billion, and they built 3? What? All right, let's go.
Could have gotten to that, but dealing with extending the child tax credit with paid leave, affordable child care would have met the immediate needs of the American people. In fact, that's why during the 107 days, that was my platform, to actually address some of the immediate needs, like, for example, getting Medicare to cover home health care for people who need it, including those in the sandwich generation who are raising young children and taking care of their elderly parents.
I want to get to some news that
Wait, someone drop in my comments what the sandwich generation is, because I don't know. Let's go.
just came out today with President Biden. His spokesperson said that he is going to now start doing radiation for his prostate cancer. Have you talked to him about it?
I called him earlier.
How's he doing?
I have not talked to him. I just left him a message after I heard the news. I was otherwise on the event at the event. Listen, I think Joe Biden is a fighter, and that is what I told him and left him a message. He's a fighter, and he's going to fight this. And we're going to hold him up and pray for his recovery and for his strength and for his family.
You write about him a lot in the book. Have you talked to him about the book?
Yes.
Yeah. What'd he say?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, come on. You know, it's just you and I.
Yeah, right.
Madam Vice President, thank you so much for coming.
All right, that was word salad Kamala Harris herself. It was interesting and entertaining. Of course, it was pretty much condemning Trump on everything, which we kind of expected. And it's on MSNBC, which we really expect. But, you know, it's entertainment. We like to watch it. And I'm glad you sat through this and watched it with me. If you like what you saw or you like my content, please like and subscribe, comment, and I will see you on the next video.